Experience, they say, is the greatest teacher. Sometimes we don't need to go through experience to learn. Sometimes we can just watch people, we can understand their experience so that we don't do the same thing they have done, especially if we are working on the same path that they have worked before. Please watch this man's story. Don't judge him. Just watch and learn. In case you are on the same path that he did before, that way you will not make the same mistake. And don't judge him. And I hope and I pray that he heals and face the future with the strength that he has begun. I wish him all the best.
This guy was always falling sick, and when he went to the hospital, he did a HIV test and it came out positive. He felt so frustrated and bitter about his life, he almost even gave up. But today, he's using his story to inspire and educate young people that they have to be really careful, especially those of you that sleep around. Today, he's here to share his story to create awareness and remind you guys that it is very easy to contract HIV. This is his story. Oh, even after discovering your HIV, you're still knocking up and down?
Yes.
Wow.
Seriously. I'd like to ask you a question, sir. When you see me, would you ever think I have a disease?
No.
Would you ever think I have HIV?
No.
Anyone can have it. And that is what is very scary.
Bro, how did you discover you had HIV?
Okay, so at some point, I was always having fever. I was always having diarrhea. I was always having, different kind of complications and sexual infections. And I didn't really take my time to find out what was wrong. So I had a major breakdown one time and I was taken to the hospital. And that was when I said to do a test. Then I was working with a magazine agency. So after I ran the test was when I found out that I was HIV positive.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you saw the positive on your results?
Well, it wasn't so much of a big deal to me because as at that time when I was seeing the results, I wasn't experiencing stigmatization. It was just told to me. But because I had to tell the company I was working for then, because they're the one who told me to, go and do a test and they needed a written result. So when I got back to them and they saw that I was HIV positive, I told them around 10 a.m. that I was HIV positive. Around 4 p.m. I was asked to leave where I was staying because they wanted to renovate all of a sudden. So From there, I started experiencing stigmatization. The company told the person who introduced me to them. The person who introduced me to them told the person who he knew me from. And from there on, every other person started knowing about the, HIV story, and it became a problem for me because I didn't like the fact that the news was spreading. And at some point, I got so depressed, and I actually attempted suicide, and it was everywhere on the internet, and it was not a very wonderful time for me. It was a very depressing time for me, but I'm here now.
How did you live your life, and how did you contract this illness?
Okay, so when I was much younger, I was extremely promiscuous, very promiscuous. I was, visiting brothels, sleeping with one woman to another, even those older than me. I was just sleeping with different women, and it was a big addiction.
Which state in Nigeria?
I was in Abuja. As at the time I started working as a photographer, I was transferred to Kano. So Kano was where I am very sure that I contracted it from, because even in Kano I was promiscuous, and Kano is not as most people think the Northerners are very let's say boring and not into life, but Kano was a very wild place, one of the wildest states I've actually been in. And so I was also promiscuous there, slept with different kind of girls, and 5 months later after I've left Kano, I started falling sick, and that was when I discovered I had HIV.
Wow, that's crazy. I can't imagine how you felt when they showed you that result.
Yeah.
And so what happened next? The news went viral, your family, friends knew about it. What was the next stage of your life like?
The next stage of my life was very, very terrible, because my family members started experiencing, stigmatization by association. So what that means is that because they were associated with me, they started stigmatizing them. My mom was like very stigmatized in church. Sometimes they stopped giving her role for all these women meeting and stuff. My elder brother was a barber, and so many people stopped going to his barbering salon because they could relate that I was his brother. And then he told me to stop coming to his barbering salon. I should stop showing my face in his barbering salon because he didn't want people to know that I was his brother and all of that. And the tailor guy, because I have two elder brothers, the eldest one is a tailor, and so many people stopped giving him clothes to sew. I don't know if they thought that maybe he could get HIV from me and pass it through sewing clothes or something. So it was a very difficult experience for all of my family members. Very difficult experience. For me personally, there were other photographers who didn't want to associate their brand with my brand. And, everybody just gave me, my way. Everybody just separated themselves. And I'm not going to withhold the fact that I had, uncool attitude then. My character wasn't nice. So it's one thing being HIV positive, it's another thing having a very good character. So it wasn't even easy for people to accommodate me because my character was really, really shitty then.
I'm trying to imagine how bad was it? What were some things? You get angry easily, you want to fight everybody, or what?
Yes, that was one. I get angry easily. I wasn't a good teammate. In the studios where I worked in, I was always having issues with everyone. I didn't know how to tolerate or manage situations. I always explode because I became extra sensitive about everything because, of the whole HIV thingy. I used to direct everybody's unfavorable attitude towards my HIV state, and I was never really looking at my own character. I expected good from people without requiring to give the same good to people, and it was a really, really bad character from me. I was just expecting good. I was never really building good characters from my own end to deposit to other people. So yes, it was a very, very difficult time for me.
Wow. Bro, you're like one of the most honest persons I've ever come across since I started interviewing people. The fact that you had to reveal all of this information without trying to sugarcoat anything, it reveals to me that you've discovered yourself and you've healed.
Yeah.
That's the way I see you. I mean, for you to come out and talk about things in this way, it means that you've realized your mistakes, your shortcomings, and how it has affected you and shaped events for you. Wow, that's really crazy. I mean, this is something, life is filled with so many distractions,
True.
The fact that we are sexual beings, we always want to satisfy our cravings, our desires, especially we guys. Most of us do not even have self-control. It's always easy to want to do this and do that, and sometimes we forget about all of the problems that can come with that lack of discipline. And today you are using your story to remind people about the consequences of living in this way, and that's a really honorable thing to do. So how are you managing this condition right now?
Okay, so right now, since I had this positive mind shift, it's been me against me first, right? Because I wanted to really battle inwardly and make sure that I stop a lot of things. Depression from stigmatization made me to fall for a lot of addictions. I was addicted to I was addicted to I didn't do drugs, but I was really addicted to just a lot of things, even mindset. Some people can have mindset addiction, stuff like that.
What do you mean mindset addiction?
Okay, so I was addicted to always think that everybody was against me. Like everybody was against me. If I'm talking to you now and I see you whisper to someone after talking to me, I will just automatically think that you are talking about me. And you see, that was even a problem too on its own. So I had anxiety too, and it was a very big deal for me. But from when I gave my life to Christ, because the truth is the Holy Spirit was actually the one who helped me to start properly helping myself. So since when I gave my life to Christ, it became easier for me to first forgive myself for, being reckless and putting a lot of people at risk, even after discovering my HIV status.
Oh, even after discovering your HIV, you're still knocking up and down?
Yes.
Wow.
Seriously.
That's crazy. So it was when you gave your life to Christ that you had to stop a lot of things.
Yeah.
Man. So,
and before I gave my life to Christ, I was also like a pimp. So I was pimping girls to men and all of that. And that's how I was getting money.
Even
mostly.
with that status?
Yes, even with that status. I was just pimping girls to men. And, it was a very, very, very filthy experience. I just, I just want to use the same force that I used in doing all of those things. I want to put the same force into changing people's life or touching people's life positively right now. That's my focus.
As a pimp, your duty was to link up girls with guys who wanted them.
Yeah, and you see,
what kind of people?
Because they call it a pimp, it sounds okay. But what I started doing after having my positive mindset was to really, really discover what the word pimp is. The word pimp means facilitating, connecting one girl to another man. The girl who is willing to sell her body for money, the man who is willing to get pleasure for money. I connect both of them together. And you see, that act alone is trafficking. So I wasn't bringing people from outside the country to Nigeria or from one state to another state, but it was from one location to another location. So I had to call it what it is for me to really discover how nasty it was. And then I started having this uncomfortability inside of me. And that was when the urge to positively change came in.
Bro, you've seen it all. Wow, man. So what kinds of people did you work with as a pimp?
A lot of girls are into hookup in Abuja.
Okay, it was in Abuja or Kano?
Yes, here in Abuja.
Okay.
So I started pimping like last year when I was working at a club. I was working as a club as a photographer. And then there was this girl who came into the club and wanted a place to sit. And I just told her to sit somewhere. I didn't know what pimping was. I didn't know how the club operated. But she sat down somewhere and the PRO in that club brought some ballers to come and sit where she was sitting. So I think somebody took her home. But before she left, she got my number. She thought that I gave her that seat, thinking that, I wanted to connect her deliberately to one of the ballers. But she didn't know that I just gave her. So when she got my number, the next morning when she was done doing what she was doing with one of the ballers, she called me and she was like, "Hey, hi, thank you very much. I really appreciate you. Please send me your account number. Let me send you your cut." And I didn't know what it means.
You sent your account number?
But then I sent the account number because...
How much did she send you?
She sent me 30,000 naira.
30?
That they paid her 100k.
Wow.
She sent me 30. I was like, okay, that's nice. She now said, would I be around, that she's coming again today? And she's bringing her friend. I was like, I will be very much around. Do you understand? I was not supposed to work that day, but I went to work that day.
Wait, how much do you make normally as a photographer?
I make, for a session then, I was making
money?
Yes, I was making let's say 50k.
A day?
Yes, a day.
Okay, so, okay.
So I was really good at it.
Okay.
But then when she brought her friend, I think the kind of people that picked them that day was paid so much more for both of them. And it was like 150k each.
They gave, okay.
150k each. And then both of them gave me cuts.
Of how much?
Of like 45,000 naira each.
That's 90,000.
That was 90k.
More than what you
yes, and that was what I made.
That was how the spirit of pimping came up.
So they started introducing me to more friends. I started being bold enough to meet more people, to tell them that I can get them more girls and stuff like that. So, and greed came into the picture.
Yeah.
Greed came into the picture because I wanted to make more money. And so I'll tell this man that, okay, I have girls for 150k. Go back to the girl and tell her that it is 100k.